Hi there, I'm recording this message in particular for my friends in the Middle East, in the Arab world, and friends who of the Muslim faith, of which I have many. I want you to know that it is obviously extremely painful to me to see that we once again have war in the Middle East. We have many innocent people who have died and probably will die before this is over. I'm sure that you can understand the extraordinary pain that many Israelis and Jewish people have felt at the massacres of October 7th. But I want you to know that because I've experienced that pain and sense of vulnerability and sense of inability to change what is happening and what has happened, I equally understand and want you to know that my heart goes out to anyone who's under fire. And I have had friends from Gaza, and I know that when there's a missile coming towards you, as it was once for me in Tel Aviv, it was the most terrified I felt in my life. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And so I just want to reach out to the, in a sense, the other side and say, whether you are in Gaza, for sure, I very, very much hope that you've moved to a place of safety. But even if you're outside Gaza, I know it can feel like an attack to the individual. And so to my friends in Lebanon and in Saudi Arabia and in Yemen and in the Emirates and in Kuwait and in Qatar and everywhere in Pakistan and everywhere where you feel a sense of brotherhood with the so many innocent people who are caught in the middle of this, I want you to know that while I certainly am in enormous pain myself over what happened on October 7th, which I know you wouldn't wish on anyone, I can understand that there is enormous pain on the other side. And I think that we all have to work towards a more peaceful world, and that means that in our hearts we have to start making peace, and that starts with messages like this, which I hope is received in the right way. I wanted to share just a couple of things that I have shared with a good friend from Saudi Arabia, who's part of the future, I believe. I won't mention her name, but I've been texting with her, and I'll start with the geopolitics and then I'll go into something individual and personal for me. What I wrote to her in one text is that what's at stake is the Abraham Accords, a future peace agreement between Israel and all reasonable countries in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia, and like the other countries that have already made peace with Israel. And let's remember, we make peace with the overwhelming majority, with the government and the overwhelming majority. There are plenty of people in Israel who do some pretty awful things that do not represent me and don't represent the majority of Israelis, just like I have no doubt that for you, the acts of a terrorist group do not represent the vast majority of people in the Middle East. So really the battle here is not between Jew and Arab, Israeli and Jew and Muslim, Israeli and Arab. The battle is between the forces of progress. And those forces are forces that I've experienced in Dubai and elsewhere with friends from Lebanon, and the forces of retrogression. And despite the way this is tearing at us, we need to continue to reach across. So what I wrote here is that I'm confident that within the context of a peace agreement, we can rebuild Gaza as a Dubai or a Singapore in the Mediterranean. You should know from my interest, I'm more committed than I ever was. I was ambivalent, but seeing what's happened now, I'm more committed than I ever was to a two-state solution. Two-state solution security for Israel requires Israel to have as its neighbor in Gaza a prosperous, a happy set of people who are working towards their own and the region's future. And I envision a place that is not dissimilar to Dubai or to Singapore, where Gaza is right now, with high-rise buildings and fun and beautiful beaches. And I would love it more than Dubai or even Singapore, because it's closer and it's the Mediterranean and it's partway between Alexandria and Tel Aviv. And that is a future that I think that we can all get around, and we need to work towards it. I've in the past written about creating the the Mediterranean Coastal Highway, not dissimilar to Pacific Coastal Route, PCH1, Pacific Coastal Highway, Route 1 in the United States, which would allow those of us who choose to, for example, have breakfast, well, perhaps have a party in Beirut, and then the following morning have breakfast and drive down via Haifa and Tel Aviv and Ashkelon and Gaza, and maybe have lunch in Tel Aviv and then continue to have afternoon tea in Gaza before continuing to Alexandria. That would be one long, beautiful coastline with a broad diversity of people, from Jews and Christians and Yazidis and Armenians and Muslims of the different kinds of Sunni and Shia and different sects within Islam. And all of those people, all of us, with all of our happy diversity, would be living in the region and living and letting live the same way it happens in Brooklyn and in California. And that is something that I want to work towards. In the last text to her, one of the last texts to this friend in Saudi, I said, let's become like Switzerland in the Middle East, but better. It's possible. Let's combine Arabic warmth and hospitality and its genius poetry with Jewish inventiveness. Let's bring back 12th century Spain. We can do this. So that is my hope for the future, a hope that is full of Palestinians who identify as Palestinians, who have a government that respects them and gives them the freedom to educate their children and to build a better future, and a government that Israelis can feel confident in, where those governments respect and understand each other. It is possible. And at risk of rambling a little bit, I just want to take the viewer just into a little bit that I've learned about Switzerland and Europe. If anybody thinks that Europe is a place without tensions and difficulties, it's not. The fights are going on continuously, and I could take you into some of them. The only difference is between Switzerland and Europe and the current Middle East is that absolutely nobody here would resort to violence to achieve their aims. And once we in the Middle East commit to each other that we will never ever resort to violence to achieve our aims, and that we will exclude from our social compact any group or individuals who think that they can use it to achieve their aims, then we'll be well on the path to creating that beautiful future with warm wishes.